Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us live, you can join us live on the Facebook live stream. So hello and good evening to Facebook, as well as alongside the chat running in YouTube. So hello and good evening to YouTube. Let's see. As for introductions, my name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. And we have the whole crew tonight. So I'm going to start in the upper right with Robert Johnson for his introduction. Good evening, Robert.
What's up, everybody? Robert Johnson here, past master, Waukegan Lodge, number 78 in Waukegan, Illinois, and current sitting secretary at Space Novum Lodge, 1183 in Libertyville, Illinois, and the host of the Whence Came You Masonic podcast. Thanks.
Thank you. Jason Richards, hello and good evening.
Hello and good evening, John. Jason Richards here, past master, Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, member of the Colonial Lodge number 1821 in Washington, D.C.
Next up for his introduction, Juan Sepulveda. So hello and good evening, Juan.
Hello, everybody. Juan Sepulveda here from Orange Blossom Lodge, number 80 in sunny Kissimmee, Florida, and the brother behind thewindingstairs.com. Good to see y'all.
Good seeing you. And last but not least, Mike the intern. Hello and good evening, Mike.
Hello, Mike Hambrecht here from the senior warden-elect and appointed again Lodge Education Officer of Lakeshore Lodge number 307 in Madison, Ohio. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, and congratulations again. All right. So tonight we are going to do a very special episode of TMR, not like the after-school specials are used to, but for the fact that we have talked about, amongst the 320 episodes that we've done, have we ever done an episode on just how to join? Right? We're a Freemasonry podcast for Freemasons and those interested. But yet, what if this is your first episode? What if you've stuck around this long and you still don't know where to start? That's this episode. So we're gonna walk you through what that process would be to make sure you're going through the right steps. Right is relative, but certainly the best path that we can guide you on through our many years of experience. Anything else you guys want to jump in before we go through the steps?
I was going to say, are those the right RITE steps?
Hey-o! Very punny
I'm going
tonight.
to say your mileage may vary. So everybody's journey is different, but we can at least point you in the right general direction. The rest is up to you. And that's the show.
There you go. Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
The answer is
Good night.
it depends. So any other warnings before we go through the process? RJ or Juan, what would you warn someone about if they're starting to get up the nerve?
I think if you're getting the nerve to go ahead and join, then you should just do it. And although the stigma exists that once you ring the bell, you can't unring it, you're a Mason forever, even if you want out, you can leave. You can leave, you can demit, you can stop showing up. NPD, non-payment dues is what we call that. And so you don't have to worry. It's not the end of the world if you join and this is just not for you. But if you do join, you have been initiated, right? So just keep in mind. I mean, there is some levity to it.
My warning would be that for someone new who perhaps has encountered all the romantic and idealized visions of what Freemasonry is all about, I remind you that this is a men's organization in the 21st century and shares a lot of similarities with many other fraternal organizations that you can find nowadays. So if you wanted to be if you want to live that ideal romantic vision of what Freemasonry is all about, it's really going to depend a lot on how hard you're willing to work for it. Expecting someone to give you that experience may lead you through a road of disappointment.
Yeah, it's not like turning on a Netflix subscription. Jason?
And, Juan, what you said is true. It is a men's organization, but for those out there who are women who listen to this show, there are female Masonic orders and there are mixed men and women orders as well. So, we've talked about those at length, and those are completely viable options to anyone.
Not in Florida, they're not.
There's the exception cases, right? So we are going to stick to the 90% solution for most of this episode. But if you want more details on all those other little spin-offs, we have a whole 319 other episodes that you can check out for more details on that. The last thing to add to what Juan was saying was that in addition to it being a men's organization primarily, it is also not for atheists. We don't get into much detail about religion beyond that, but we are a God-fearing organization, and so if you are an atheist or just don't believe that there's any supreme being other than you, then that's something that you need to consider before you join. Okay.
Or go to the Grand Orient of France.
You've got all the fringe cases.
All the fringe cases. That's right. But understand also that what that encompasses is largely defined in your conscious view of the supreme being, the supreme intelligence. So like even we've been asked a lot, or I have anyway, how did you join if you're a deist? And really, that's fairly simple to answer, and that is because I do believe in something. So, just make sure that you guys are prepared to answer those questions, which sometimes can be uncomfortable because in today's age of society, we don't ask those questions of people very much at all. And people are always like, oh, I'm spiritual, but I don't do this, or whatever the case is. So be prepared for a grilling sometimes, most Masonic
and when
lodges
it comes,
yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when it comes down to the God being, deity, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't. We don't really go into what religion you are, as long as you have a belief in a supreme being. Now, I do know there are some jurisdictions that'll go a little too deep in it, but typically that's considered, a no question. It's really just, do you have a belief in a God?
I like how this episode is starting off with, the answer is A, unless you do B. Right?
And sometimes F.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go right into the steps. So I'll lead the conversation and then let you guys chime in. So really the first step at all is, if you see a guy with one of these rings on, they're more than likely a Freemason. So the old saying is true: to be one, ask one. And it is that simple. It's a little trite, but yet it is something that we've all done.
It's very trite, but
right. Yes. But it is that simple. If you know someone who is a Freemason, that is the easiest way to get started. Just go up and ask them. Like, don't be shy. As soon as they know you're interested, they'll probably talk your ear off. And so that is the very first step you can take, is to ask one. In fact, I've even heard a couple people say, hey, I know you're a Freemason. I'm sort of interested. What's the first step? And my answer is, you just took it. Like, you literally just took the first step because you saw I was one and you asked. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, remember that you just have to ask, because the first time I saw a Freemason and wanted to, I was afraid to ask because I had heard that if you ask to join, you'll never get to, and that's not true. Not in any way.
That's only SRICF. No, I think that's correct. But also, there are some jurisdictions also where somebody might approach you and they might say, have you ever thought about Freemasonry? And in some jurisdictions, like, whittling down even more, there are some jurisdictions that have things like invitation to petition, in which a member of a lodge comes to the lodge and says, hey, Mike Hambrecht is a stand-up dude. He would make an amazing Mason. Can we do invitation to petition? And that lodge might hold a vote right then and there and say, yep, he's already accepted. And then you can go to Mike and I said, Mike, you ever thought about this? Yeah, maybe. Well, listen, my lodge already agreed and they think you'd be perfect. Just sign here, buddy. Right. So there are those instances as well. And those are not the rule. It's the exception, but it exists.
I've never actually heard of anyone doing that, so that's fascinating.
Shout out to all my Pennsylvania brothers.
Illinois, baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Now, what if you don't know a Freemason? What would your next step be? Well,
if you don't know any Freemason, the first step would be to find what is the local Masonic lodge, or at least the closest Grand Lodge to you. And I would recommend that if you go that route, that you spend some time online doing some research, trying to find out, see their web presence, see the environment, if they share any photos of their membership, if they share any photos of their events. You can sometimes tell whether, based on the quality of what you find, what would be the right place to approach. And as in my example, although I had a relative who was a member, I had recently moved to the States and didn't know anybody here who was a Freemason. So I did my due diligence. I went online, looked around for different Masonic lodges in my area, and I found two relatively close to to where I lived. And I just proceeded to call them up. So I found the phone and I called, I spoke with somebody, expressed my interest. I told them I have been doing some research about Freemasonry, and a lot of the information I find related to Freemasonry lines up with who I already am. And I think that I would like to learn more about the organization. And their response was very favorable. They said, well, perfect. We have dinners on the 1st and 3rd, I think it was Thursdays of the month. And we meet around 6:30. So if you want to come, sit down, have a meal with us, and you can ask us questions and we can ask you questions and see if we're a good fit for one another. And I was very excited about that. Didn't think about it twice, and actually stopped by the lodge and asked a whole bunch of questions.
Now, Mike, a couple things have changed since back in the day when Juan joined and had to do all this Google research on his own. There's been a new website that just rolled out. You want to talk about beafreemason.org?
Yeah. So this is a site from the Scottish Rite Northern Masonic Jurisdiction, and they created this not just a man, a Mason thing. And I know that, like, my Grand Lodge is actually using this, has a whole thing, introducing men throughout the state who are also Masons, and they're all over the Grand Lodge of Ohio's webpage. And the not just a man, a Mason, but Be a Freemason site is actually a big campaign. It allows you to find out more about what it is to be a Freemason. It teaches you everything from what it is, how to, what the life is, what they believe, how to take your first step even. And it's, it's going to help you find a Grand Lodge in the United States, Canada, Mexico, just about anywhere. and it's a great campaign that they've put together. The Southern jurisdiction has picked up on it. Like I said, Grand Lodge of Ohio, I know several other Grand Lodges have picked up on it as well and are using it. It's really a great program for finding out where to go, and who to see. And it came about since I've joined even, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So let me switch back to that. When you click the, take the first step, it will actually ask you which nation you're in, and will help route you down automatically to the Grand Lodge of your state, and that forth. So it will route you right to the correct authorities, I guess is the best word for that, to help you get started. If you know no one else, like if you don't know any Freemason, but you're really interested, you think this fraternity has something to offer for you, just easily navigate your way, and I can attest it does make its way down to the right Grand Lodge in your state. So that's the easiest way to do that. But Robert, what if you are out of the United States or Canada or Mexico? What would you do next?
Oh man, so Google worked for me really well because the number one result, our SEO was pretty good back in 2006, 2007, and I Googled Freemasonry in Illinois, and I got my Grand Lodge. Woo! But the problem is that you can't always rely on Google, because the issue is that you don't know if it's real. And so people who aren't Masons probably don't know that there are, I can't call them fake. The terms we use are irregular or clandestine Masonic organizations of Masonry that are not generally recognized by everybody else. And so there is a pretty good list that is available to you if you go to the United Grand Lodge of England has a website, and it's ugle.org, and then if you can check out their foreign Grand Lodge list, and I think you've got it up. So you can look through these different continents, these different countries, and see if yours is listed. If it is listed, there's some really good hope for you, because all of these Grand Lodges are recognized, meaning you could join any one of these and visit any other, right? So it's the recognized network. Okay, so just think about it. It's not quite like insurance, your medical insurance. You can't go see Kaiser because you're at Aurora Health or something. You're in network, essentially, is how you can kind of think about that. And it's a great tool.
That's a really good analogy.
I've always thought of Masonry as the United Nations, and it's all about what Masonic Grand Lodges recognize the other ones.
That's right. Yeah. The be a freemason.com.org is a wonderful way to start if you're here in the United States or in any of those countries that is mentioned. I was going to chime in when Mike was talking about this, because when they first launched it, I had some reservations. I was like, I don't know, guys. I don't know how this is going to work. Because I was concerned about how they were describing Freemasonry. I was wondering, will they just harp on this kind of Rotarian thing? And they did not do that. They have some verbiage on here that I remember reading, and I just sat back on my chair and I thought, I can't even argue with any of this. So I really enjoy the website. I think it's a good first step. I love the verbiage on there where it says Freemasonry, the oldest fraternal organization. Where is it? passed from generation to generation. It really kind of touches on this, I don't know, intrinsic value of the craft. Is really kind of cool. But yeah, the UGLE site is rad.
So Jason, while I've got the UGLE site up, I think some people may notice that if you go through North America and you look at the United States of America, there's a lot of double counting of states. So why would there be a Grand Lodge of Colorado and a Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Colorado? What's the difference there?
Oh, of course So if you go back to episode 52, I believe, which is Prince Hall Masonry, and then we also did an episode on African Lodge number 1, you'll see that in most states in the U.S., we have a Grand Lodge of the state, but then we also have something called Prince Hall Grand Lodge. And this came about due to previous racism in America, where a Prince Hall, who was a free black man in the 1700s, wanted to get a warrant to charter his own lodge, and he was met with resistance, so he ended up getting his own charter. And I'm glossing over a lot of the details, but he ended up getting his own charter from the United Grand Lodge of England. So to this day, we have an organization in Freemasonry called Prince Hall Freemasonry, which is primarily made up of military members. Prince Hall is Masonry is very active in military lodges across the world, not just in the U.S. And it's primarily made up of people and persons of color.
Yeah. So if that's your thing, then that's a great place to start, especially if you have friends and relatives that follow that lineage. So that is another path that you can choose to go down. So that's a great choice there.
There are a lot of Grand Lodges and Prince Hall Grand Lodges that have intervisitation and amity and recognition.
Yeah. So yeah, we did use that recognized term quite a bit, and the United Nations thing, because without going into gory detail, this is the how to start. If you travel a lot for work, then this might be something you might be interested in. That if you want to visit other lodges in this global fraternity, the more recognized your jurisdiction is, the better. That's the whole point, is that you can travel further if you're in one of these on this UGLE list. So let's say you've done your homework, you've talked to a Mason, you found the lodge that's good for you. We definitely recommend shopping around. You find that lodge and you start to get to know the guys. Then Juan, what would you do next if you found this lodge that you think is a good fit for your personality?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, approaching them directly and trying to make a connection. Now, a good thing to keep in mind is that this is a volunteer organization, and you have some exemplary secretaries in some lodges, and you have some secretaries that are over their head with the amount of work that they have to do. So someone getting back to you in one lodge could be the most expedient and user-friendly experience, while in a different lodge, it could be non-existent. You may send an email and not hear back. So don't think this is a reflection of you. Nothing that happens in your initial interactions with a lodge, don't attribute those to whatever your value is or whatever your worthiness is to join. Now, being a secretary is a job that I don't foresee doing, at least not in the next decade or two. It scares the heck out of me, the complexity of it. So I have sympathy for the people who have to do it. So what do? If you find a lodge that you really like, send them an email, patiently wait for a week. If you don't hear back, pick up the phone and call them. And if you left a message, give it a couple of days. If you don't hear back, then call again. Hopefully you get a human and express that you're not trying to rush the process. You're just excited to learn more about Freemasonry, and ask what will be the next step. Because some lodges will invite you to come over and have dinner, or meet with some of the other people. Other lodges may have different protocols. They may want you to send them some information about you. They may want you to go through some steps before in order to properly vet you. So just remember to be patient. And this is a human organization, and adjust your expectations accordingly.
Yes.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. Yeah. Patience is a virtue,
and
you'll learn that while you go through the degrees. So,
yes.
So you're interested, you're chomping at the bit, you're ready to go. There is one magic piece of paper that you need to have, and that is a petition for degrees. Now, you can get that from someone at the lodge, or some jurisdictions actually put that petition on the website. So, in fact, I just did a quick Google search for Grand Lodge of Virginia, the jurisdiction we're under, or Jason and I are in, and then they search for petition, and sure enough, here you can print out the petition and have that ready to go for them to accept. So it basically says, what do you need to have ready? You know, maybe have a little bit of fees for some dues, or for initiation fees. But here's the whole form. Don't be scared by it. It's not like filling out your taxes. It's not like filling out all sorts of, gory details about your life. It's a simple, in most jurisdictions, one-page form that just wants to know a little bit about you, where you are, where you're living, any family members, just so the members of that lodge can say, oh, I think I know someone who used to work with him, or something to that effect, just so they can start to vouch for your character, especially if you don't know them very well. They can bring this up in lodge and say, does anyone know this Jason Richards? And he says he's worked for this company. We know we have 2 or 3 guys who work for this company. Then maybe that we could reach out to him that way. So very easy to get, but this is the magic. This is the golden ticket, to use the Willy Wonka term, that you need in order to start the process.
I wanted to add that in episode 91 of the Masonic Roundtable, we actually discussed the petitioning process in more detail. So if you're interested in joining Masonry and you want to have a better idea of how the whole petitioning process is, because it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, go check it out, episode 91. And also, if you were thinking about the first stipulation that we mentioned earlier on about your belief in God, if you have any doubts about, okay, well, this is what I believe, how does that work in the petition? Episode 143 of the Masonic Roundtable, it talks about God in the petition. So you can learn a little bit more about how it manifests itself in the different jurisdictions of the members of the Masonic Roundtable. But also we find information from different jurisdictions and can help you get a better idea if that's something that you're concerned about.
And I would add that the questions that are usually on petitions sometimes might take you a second. They'll take you, you'll read it and go, what on earth are they asking me that for? And as John pointed out, this is really to get to know you as a person. And these are the gentlemen that are going to laugh with you and cry with you. So it's okay to tell them that you got a divorce, or that you're on your 10th marriage, right? These are, like, if those are the questions on there. I'm not saying they are, but you also might find other questions as well, because Freemasonry and civics have gone hand in hand for so many years. I'm not talking about politics, but civic engagement. You might find questions. For instance, down in Tennessee, I saw a petition that said, do you believe in the public school system? So be prepared to answer questions that might feel weird. But understand that the people who are asking these questions are the people who are going to end up being potentially your best friends.
And they're weird too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's another question I know of that it shows up on a lot of petitions, and I'm going to say to everyone out there, regardless of if it's a yes on this one, always answer the truth, because there's a good chance they're going to find out anyway, and that is, do you have a felony conviction? Answer truthfully on it. It is in some states, I will tell, or some jurisdictions, I will tell you, it's a definite, you're not getting in, but in others, it's not. It's not going to help you to have a conviction, I will tell you that, but that doesn't mean it will keep you out. It depends on all kinds of things. That's all I can, I can't tell you that, what the depends are. Different jurisdictions, they may look at it and go, well, man, you were 18 and stupid, and now you're 52 years old and, have your own business and are quite successful and did your time, It's just a matter of what did you do, But honestly, make sure to answer that one honestly, because chances are they're going to run a background check and find out anyway.
And we talk about criminal background checks in a previous episode of TMR, so tune into that one.
Man, we've covered it all. We could have just done a clip show like all the sitcoms do and just piece this all together into one Uber episode.
Unfortunately, we actually care about our audience. So,
episode 89, criminal backgrounds.
Okay, so you've got a petition. One thing we forgot to mention, in most jurisdictions, you need to have Freemasons who vouch for your character to sign that. So I was back looking at the Virginia petition. Here it is. Yes, they need to have not one but two Freemasons in good standing to say, yes, I recommend this guy to join Freemasonry because he's a stand-up dude, and I literally put my name on the line for that. So
yeah.
But John, what if I? What if I don't know any Masons? How am I going to find two Masons to vouch for me if I don't even know one to join?
Yep.
Make new
That's
friends.
where my question was going to. Yeah, that's where my question was going to come in, though. Too, is when they're vouching, how long are they saying they've known this brother on some of those petitions before they can vouch for him in the first place? I believe in Ohio it's 6 months, but I'd have to look at that again. I'm saying I believe. I'm not 100% on that.
In Virginia, the gentleman's agreement is a year, but it's not hard and fast that I've seen.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, right? We want to make sure that we're not quickly rushing someone through this degree system that we wouldn't personally vouch our reputation on, right? And so you can earn reputation very quickly by, getting to meet some brothers outside a lodge and have them kind of grill you and that kind of stuff. But yes, it's worth.
I'll tell you, there's I mean, this will promote another podcast, Fort Worth 148. 148? Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, they're out of Texas. Their lodge. If I remember from their shows correctly, if you don't know someone, they have you coming there for at least 6 months to every one of their dinners. They won't even offer you a petition until they've gotten to know you. It's just the way they like to do things. That way they do get to know you. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. I mean, in the long run,
it's a great thing. Yeah.
It's a great thing for both of you. They've had you come to dinner. They will encourage you to actually help with, the serving of the dinner. So you go around and see more of the brothers that way. But it's just a way to help you get to know more of the brethren of the lodge. And then eventually they'll go through the petition process. And it's still, at that point, it's still a maybe. But it's a better maybe than it was when you walked through that door and nobody knew you.
It's a process. Absolutely.
That's how it is here in Orange Blossom Lodge. We don't give a petition on the first, second, or third visit. We expect to get to know you better before we actually present you with a petition. So with, to your point, Hami, for the brothers listening who are members of lodges who may think, oh, it's a great idea to do that, get them to work in the kitchen, get them to serve food, that can get complicated. That it's important that if people are considering that to be a viable option, for them to really think about the repercussions that it could have. Just imagine if you have someone, you're stoking their expectations of membership because they feel like they are part of the team, because they stay there till 11 o'clock cleaning dishes, and they go to every single event, and eventually they get a petition, they get some sponsors. It still has to go through a vote. And if the craft votes against adoption of the petition, then you can have a very disillusioned individual whose relationship with Freemasonry could be tarnished for forever. So it's a very cautious, it's a very treacherous path to take. And if you do so, you have to be very aware of the repercussions.
Okay, so you got your petition filled out. You've got at least 2 Master Masons to sign for you, and you turn it into the lodge with some sort of initiation fee. Jason, then what?
Then you wait.
But I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go right now. I got it all figured out.
And you wait. Most jurisdictions will require the petition to lay over for a certain period of time, usually a month, 30 days, somewhere around there. So you'll have the petition that'll be read once in lodge. It will lay over until the next lodge meeting or 2. In between that time, however, much like Ebenezer Scrooge, you're going to have your own visit from 3 distinct.
That's funny. Someone needs to rewrite that story right now. That's awesome.
Yes. I
So,
nominate Bill Hosler.
Yes, Bill Hosler can do it. So there's something called an investigation committee that occurs, and so
that sounds scary.
This happened. I know, it's very scary, except not at all, because you've answered truthfully on your petition, and these are just brethren from the lodge who are interested in coming over, usually to your residence, and just getting to know you and your family a little bit. They're there to ask you a couple questions. Again, make sure you profess a belief in a supreme being, but then also they're there to answer any questions that you or your family have about Freemasonry. And so my experience with my with my investigation committee was they basically came in, sat down with me and my wife, and said, "You believe in God?" And I was like, "Yes." And they were like, "Okay, so what questions do you have for us?" That was like the extent of the
very
entire
detailed investigation. And if they let Jason through,
yeah,
it can't be that detailed.
Anybody through, yeah. Again, it depends on the brethren. It depends on the lodge what questions they'll ask. But it's a time honestly, it's a golden opportunity for you to get to know some of the people who you will eventually call brothers, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And so from that conversation, the investigation committee will then write up a report and give a report to the lodge and the master the next meeting when they read your petition for the second time before they vote on it.
What I like about that process is that those 3 members who did the investigation committee, at least here in Virginia, are not your signers. So by this point in the process, you now have 5 Masons that can vouch for your character in some way, shape, or form. And so it is a really good repeatable process that's stood the test of time in most jurisdictions to help just do our due diligence to make sure that we do what we call guarding the West Gate. We're making sure that it's not just nepotism, it's not just a friend, it's not just coercion, right? We want to make sure that you're there because you want to be there, and we want you there because we know your character is what everything that Masonry teaches is all about.
And part of that character too is ensuring that your family's on board with it as well. One of the key things that the investigation committee made sure to do is they made sure to talk to my wife and ask her if she had any questions or any reservations, because part of being a good man is being a good family member and a good family man.
Yeah, to build on that, anecdotally, don't know if it's true or not, but anecdotally have heard of people in Virginia that have gone and had just the opposite effect, and the husband was interested in joining, but the wife was very anti-Masonry, and they gave him good counsel and said, "We'd love to have you, but now's not the right time for you, and you really need to talk it over more with your wife, and we'll be here whenever you as a family decide, but for now we recommend that you pause your petition." And so for all the right
come
reasons.
Back and see us after the divorce.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
We're all thinking it. Jason's saying it.
Okay, and this one's going to be a tricky little question to add in there. When the interviewers get to the house and it's not a female spouse.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it,
Right.
and I don't see it. I mean, and as far as I know, Ohio doesn't actually have that problem. Yeah. It's just a question I'm throwing out there, because we've had this discussion on the show. So,
Georgia and Tennessee.
That's right. So yes, we do have back episodes of different jurisdictions that have different additional requirements that fall along those lines. But in most jurisdictions, that is not a disqualification for entrance into the fraternity. So good question, Mike. Okay, so let's assume you made it through this whole process. You've got 5 or more Master Masons that can vouch for you. Your petition's been read. It's been balloted on. Wait, it's been balloted on? Robert, what's balloting like for your petition?
Well, I mean, you're not there, so yeah. The committee that's talked to you has essentially gone back to the lodge, and they have reported their findings to the worshipful master. They have either said, in my experience, it's very limited to what the committee is allowed to disclose to the lodge or the master, other than saying, we recommend or we don't recommend. And at that point, at the next meeting, they will ballot based on this decision. So the master might say something like, fellas, mixed group of people, whatever the case is, we have somebody who's petitioned. These named 3 brothers went ahead and they investigated. They have found the petitioner to be great for us, or they found usually it's they recommend the petitioner for membership, or they do not recommend the petition for membership. Then they will call for the ballot. Members of that lodge, not visitors, but members of that lodge, will then cast a ballot. And the ballot is a little bit different. You may have heard, there's a lot of trivial questions and trivial Masonry out there that talks about, blackball this, one blackball. We know, most people know this, but in case you don't, the ballot is done in secret. Each man walks up to a ballot box, reaches into a container that is connected to a little area that's separated from the container, and they drop either a white cube or a black cube or a white ball and a black ball. And sometimes they mix whether they're cubes or balls because people get confused on the color. But traditionally, it's a white ball and black ball, and there are equal number of white, equal number of black inside the box to the number of members who are there. They then pick the ballot that they choose. White elects, black rejects, and they cast. And then once everybody in the lodge has done that, they go to each station of the lodge and basically present, without looking themselves, it's presented to those officers. And those officers look inside and they say, it's, we've cleared the petitioner on my station. Then it's checked again. And then finally the worshipful master takes a look and he goes, yep, and it's clear up here, gentlemen, whatever, you have elected Mr. Mike Hambrick to receive the degrees in Masonry. And many times there's a round of applause or something. Yay. And it's an exciting time, particularly if you were involved in that person's investigation, or perhaps you were the signer of the individual. You have a sense of pride there. But it could also go the other way, which means there's a blackball thrown, in which those same officers who reported clear might say unclear or cloudy or something along those lines.
Or not clear.
Not clear. The master will check. And if it is not clear, traditionally, without getting into the minutia of the rules and what you're allowed to do, one vote is enough to say no. They may immediately call for another vote.
Except in Pennsylvania.
Yes, you're correct. Pennsylvania takes a few black balls because people know people, and they want to make sure that if you can't join, you really can't join. You need 3 black balls in PA. But most other jurisdictions is single black ball. And again, if it's not clear, they usually will do the vote again just to make sure.
I have witnessed accidents where people just fumbled around and selected the wrong thing. So it's definitely worth another vote just to be sure. And 99% of the time it'll come back clear. So awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in Virginia, the master can destroy the ballot once and have everybody ballot again.
And why not? Because let's be honest, this is the future of somebody's life in an organization that changes their life forever. So why not give them a second chance? If it is a mistake.
Yeah, for me, for the time that I was the senior deacon, that was a very solemn moment for me. The senior deacon, part of the responsibility is to distribute the ballot, so he'll be the one who would go around with the little box and what have you. And there's solemnity to it, and I've always looked at it that way. And I don't like it when people are joking around too much or they're taking it lightly, because I see it as, just like you describe it, that is a moment in which we collectively are making a decision for the life of one person. And this person, we don't know the impact that Masonry could have in their lives. And for brothers out there who are perhaps in positions of leadership within the lodge, if your lodge doesn't treat the ballot as a solemn event, perhaps it is in your hands to convey the solemnity of the moment and make it what it is. It really, in my opinion, it should be. And just like voting for a political candidate, and I just recently recorded an episode talking about that in the Gentleman's Brotherhood, that it is important for you to participate in that kind of decision process. You are just like you're voting for the future of your country in an election, you're voting for the future of your lodge inside of the lodge. And this could be for the good or for the worse. You vote your conscience either way, especially in lodge, because it's very likely that whomever you're voting for will sit at the dinner table with you and your family.
Yes, your votes do count. Absolutely. Yes. Awesome. Okay, so Hammy, you get a great petition ballot upon. Everything goes great, and you are elected to receive the degrees in Freemasonry. What are these degrees like? What's really the next step then? Because degrees sounds like there's more than one of them. what's the process there to get those degrees?
Well, first off, again, you wait, and then you wait. and you may never hear anything from eventually you hear something from your lodge. And again, it's one of those things too that you can do like I did, push your lodge, reach out, keep reaching out, make sure that, to let them know you're interested. Because I had found out I was elected to receive the degrees. That was like in October. I finally started my degrees in January, but I pushed and pushed, but there was also, you have to understand it's the end of the year. That's the lodge annual meeting, election of new officers, installation, and then obviously Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's is all in there. So, you gotta, that's why, that took so long, but I was pushing very hard for that. But in any case, there's 3 degrees. They are, introductory. There's the entered apprentice, which is your initiation. There's the fellow craft degree, and then the master mason degree, of course. We've discussed each of these in their own different way throughout the other episodes, but in between, in some states, there's things known as the return or proficiency, things like that. It's actually, and there's short form, long form, depending on, again, the jurisdiction, making it easier. And there's some that can actually, in some jurisdictions, they can read it out of the coded or enciphered ritual book, if there is one, depending. Other jurisdictions don't even have, ciphered ritual. But point is, there's that work to do in between. Some place, like I say, it's all memorization. And which means that's how once you can show your proficiency, then they'll schedule your next degree. And so forth, some don't. And then there's, like in Ohio, there's the all encompassing, wonderful 1-day class where you get all 3 degrees and you don't have to worry about proficiency. All you have to do is show up, go through the 3 degrees that day, by watching, or in some cases, if you're chosen to be the exemplar candidate, participate in the degree. And then after that is done, you have to at least show up at your lodge for 1 meeting within the next month. And then you don't have to worry about proficiency after that. But, those are, of all viable options for doing the degrees.
But then you're a Mason then.
Yes, then you're a Mason. But it's experiential. Either way, whether you go through it as the candidate or even though, you're sitting back watching it, there is experiential there as well.
And that is it. So that's really good. We wanted to take the time to stretch this out for the full hour, to walk through the pros and cons and the on-ramps and off-ramps, and then a little bit of the gotchas and the fringe cases or edge cases, for using some artificial intelligence terms, right? So again, fringe cases doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they're not the usual path. And so we really just wanted to make sure that we had this episode out there to really walk someone through, start to finish, soup to nuts, what it's like to navigate this process. Because if you're very unfamiliar with the process, it is something that is unique, it is something that is thorough, and it is something that, if done right, is very special. And so really wanted to just make sure that we gave that its due diligence tonight. And so I'll open it up for some final thoughts from Hammy.
Okay. Yeah, one more thing I was going to say about with the proficiencies, by the way, that I didn't stress there, is if you're doing those, you're actually working with a brother from your lodge. And again, this is where, it pays if you actually knew somebody in your lodge. But the fact is, even if this is somebody you've never really met before, this becomes an intimate training with that person. They are teaching you, because the ritual in Ohio anyway is enciphered. That means it's you couldn't read it without help. It's not written in words you'll understand. So they're breaking it down for you. Plus, they know the ritual themselves from memory, so they're translating it for you and helping you. And that's that whole time you're spending with someone. You're not just going to sit there and go back and forth on those words. Eventually, you're going to chat about other things in Masonry. You're going to chat about your lives, your families, things like that. So it's going to be someone that you're going to get to know. And if it's already somebody you know, you might actually get to know them deeper than you did before as well, especially due to the fact that you are now following a similar experience path as them. And that's what Masonry does for many of us as well. So,
thanks, Mike. All right. Let's head over to Robert. What did we miss? Did we miss anything?
I don't think we missed anything. I mean, nothing can take the place of actually going through the process. The process itself is its own rite of passage that could be its own degree. The first degree is
yes,
the process of filling out the petition and getting in there. And as some people have talked about this evening, there are times where you fill out the petition and nobody told you it was going to be a couple months before anybody got back to you because they're dark. They're not meeting in the summer, or they're not doing this or that. So just have patience. Like Juan said, make some phone calls if you need to. And if things are going weird, Google the Grand Lodge of your state and see, can I send them an email and ask them what's up? Because they will trickle down and figure out what's going on and get back to you. So just remember, this is a process. It's a fun process. It's exciting. The buildup is awesome. And there's a lot of resources out there for you to, I don't know, I guess, fill the void until you take your degrees. You listen to podcasts, you read blogs, you've got a billion Masonic books out there. Read Freemasonry for Dummies. Great book, if you're waiting, but do check it out. This is all worthwhile, all of it.
Okay. Juan, any final thoughts or anything we missed?
I don't feel that we missed anything in particular, but if someone listening who is interested in joining Masonry still has some doubts or some questions in the matter, just make sure to go to our page on Facebook if you can, or send us a message through Twitter and ask us the question. We'll be happy to help you in the process. I found this to be a very fulfilling experience. I worked from by myself from home. I'm an entrepreneur and I work by myself. So I love my family, but I was missing that component of socializing. I was missing that camaraderie that you can find in joining a group of other guys. And if you were to petition a lodge and found worthy, well qualified, and to join, perhaps you join a group of guys who will either uplift you with their jokes, or they'll uplift you with their intellect, with their stories, with their experience. But there's so much value to be gained from having just a group of guys that you can come together with and go through life together. I'm very thankful that I found this path, and I don't want to sound cultish, but guys like these guys that I share a show with, like, I love these dudes, and they've been with me for years, and they've been witness to the birth of my children and the moments of sadness in my life, and we all need a little bit of that today. So I wish you luck in your journey, in your search for light, and we want to hear from you once you've crossed that line. Let us know how it went for you. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. So just as a reminder, just to bring it back home, you can, head on over to beafreemason.org. beafreemason.org is the best place to start in order to figure out your journey, to get routed to the right jurisdiction if you don't know where to start. But as always, it's best to have that human connection and reach out. If you see a Freemason, to be one, ask one. That's the easiest way to do it. Also, there's that Freemasons for Dummies, a good reference for the rest of us. Again, I know Masons that have read this cover to cover and learned something new, so that is also a great resource to get started. As always, if you're brand new to the process, don't read too much. Right? We like to keep some of the mysteries there for a reason. But as I've said before in my coaching, that once you're a third degree Master Mason, go nuts. Just open the floodgates. But until then, don't fast forward to see that Snape kills Dumbledore. So that's my advice. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and see you next week. And keep searching for more light. Have a good night.